Why, hello YouTube. Welcome back. This is BalorMage again, and as you can see in the background, we're playing Lightning Arrow. Bows. Lightning Arrow got some pretty massive buffs this league. Everyone's probably already heard about it. Everyone's already seen people playing projectile attack skills all of a sudden that we weren't super meta before. But I want to explain really quickly why bows have taken off so much, especially for more casual players, and why if you haven't played a bow build before, this is the league and you should definitely try it, just in case people don't really understand. So everyone knows we got 2 projectiles added on the tree. Well, we didn't actually get 2 projectiles for free. Technically, these 2 projectiles were taken away from somewhere else. The absolute degenerate, gross 1% top end lost their synth implicit arrows, and both of those arrows got put onto the tree. Now, that is the highest levels of investment that got taken and just put on the tree, which means what actually happened to Lightning Arrow, Tornado Shot, Ice Shot, all of these things realistically is somewhere between 50 to 100 divines worth of power got taken away from the 0.001% and given to everyone on the tree. So the absolute disgusting endgame got nerfed ever so slightly. And then like the, I'm going to call regular level of degenerate, which is where I am, where I might spend 200 or 300 divines on a character plus a mage blood, still got like a tiniest buff. Like it's still a decent buff for us. And then like casual players in the 20 to 50 divine range, hugely buffed, doubled in power. And then below that, like league start and lower levels, like triple, quadruple in power, like huge buffs at the low end, and like decently good buffs in the mid to high, and just the slightest nerf right at the top end, which none of us were ever making anyway. We're talking like multi-mirror builds got like slightly worse. Okay. This is actually, they've kind of nailed this rework in such a way that I don't think they've ever done such a good job of nailing the rework. And that's only half of it, because the other half is they changed the way the anointment for Vengeance Cascade works. They changed the way return works in general. Now, I'm not going to bother getting into the intricacies of how it did work versus how it works now, but the short version is arrows go out, hit things, continue, turn around, come back, hit things again. They didn't behave like that properly before. So they come back, they hit things again, then they hit things out the back. So that doubled our damage. That doubled our damage and made a clear cone at the back of our character just as big as the one in the front. So clear got extensively brought up on a build that was already like archetype that was already good on clear, and then damage got doubled, and then we were given 2 additional arrows, and now bows is a thing accessible to literally everyone. It's so much fun. So we're going to jump into what I've done with this character. This is not a build guide. This is not a build guide. A build guide's going to need way more work, but I do have leveling trees, I do have leveling links, and I do have some basic information for people to like understand where they should go with their power and what they need to get started. So let's jump into the path of building. All right. So this is actually my character right now, on the current tree. Now, there's not that much invested into this character. Not right now. There will be soon, but for right now, it's not super high. So what we've done is we've ended up with so much damage, we don't even need ballistas anymore. So we don't use totems. We've just got our normal lightning arrow setup, which is right here, with only LMP, which is very weird. And then we also have a mana forged arrow frenzy power charge on crit setup. And that gives us all of our frenzy charges and all of our power charges just automatically while mapping. So that's fantastic. A few auras. We're just running haste, grace, and precision right now. Honestly, grace is not that good. I could probably have swapped it for a damage aura. I do only have like very little very little evasion rating. I've got 20,000 evasion rating, but I really like having the Vile Grace, so I'm keeping it because this is a Cast on Death portal build right now. This is very much a Cast on Death portal build. I do want to say I probably use 2 portals a map on average, but I've still managed to make it to level 95 despite that, because you just kill so quickly. You clear maps so quickly. Everything is lightning speed. So there's a few things in here that I don't think are very important. For instance, I did the Storm Shroud and Crafted Boots option where I get 100% shock immune and then use Storm Shroud to become ailment immune. I'm going to be honest, really wasn't worth it. I think that was a waste of investment at this level. If I had tons more money, maybe something like that, but this was a waste of. I literally could have just run Purity of Elements. I am currently running Haste and Grace, and I already die anyway. I think just taking off Grace and putting on Purity would have been fine. So I wouldn't bother with that, and that saves you a lot of money. This Watcher's Eye is basically a 1-stat Watcher's Eye. It's just crit multi with precision. It cost me 1 divine. You could get any 1 to 2 divine Watcher's Eye for any of your relevant auras and put it in, or you could just put in another jewel. It's really not that important. So, right, important things. If you want to reroll into a character like this, I suggest having a minimum of a 900 EDPS bow. So that's the total elemental DPS on your bow, 900 minimum. And you should already have a Hirizaya. If you can have both of those things, one of them 6-linked, the other one does not need to be. If you can have both of those things and about 5 to 10 divines max on top of that for the rest of your gear, you'll be able to reroll into a character like this and be blasting away at tier 16s with no problem at all. To be clear, this is a league start build. You could have league started it, but I think that the entry level is a little higher if you're going to reroll off a functional build. You don't want to suddenly be stuck in yellow maps or suddenly be stuck in early reds and progression style stuff when you're rerolling. So to have it feel good as a second character, we're talking about a 900 EDPS weapon, a Hirizaya, and 5 to 10 divines. The basic gear is all pretty cheap, and a lot of it is uniques. We're going to be using Comb Spirits, we're going to be using Vol's Vision, we're going to be using Yoke and 1 Taming. So they're all quite cheap. For anyone who hasn't used the Rage tech before, I'm very lazy. I leave Berserk on left click. I think you should too. You get most of the good effects of Rage and you just don't have to deal with it. You can just put it on left click. I have done no more investment into the Rage setup than the helmet. So to be clear, you need non-corrupted items everywhere. Very important. And then Comb Spirit is just going to regenerate 1 rage per 100 life. And then you don't regen life per. So 100 life regen is 1 rage and you just don't regen life at all. Vols gives you 400 regen if you have no equipped items that are corrupted. So that's 4 rage per second. That is the minimum. It feels okay. When possible, if you can get a little more regen here and there. I don't have any, but it will feel really, really, really good if you can get up to 700 to 800 regen. That'll feel amazing. The 400 is enough. Just the helmet on its own is enough to warrant running it, but it is not fantastic. I wouldn't mind when I re-gear trying to fit in at least another 200 or 300 regen if I can. Right. So, leveling trees. This is the biggest question I've been getting on stream. Hey, how do I level this? So again, not a guide, but I did quickly put together some trees. We're just going to go through them really quick so that everybody knows what's going on. If you've never leveled a bow character before, if you already have, take the path of building and go run. If you haven't leveled before, watch this little bit. It is important. Right. So, pretty quick trees coming out. I like going through a little bit of life. early because rangers start with no life and you get killed real easy and it annoys me. You don't have to do that. You do have to do this. You will need the strength and int. We're very stat starved. We're going to rush down to precise technique. Now, as soon as you get precise technique, it is very important that you keep an eye on your health and your accuracy rating. Your accuracy rating must be higher than your health all the time, or you lose 40% of your total damage. This is pretty easy to do because generally, if you do get too low, you'll just take the 100 flat accuracy per green socket on equipped bow. If you've got like 4 sockets on your bow, that's 400 flat accuracy. So that usually takes care of it. I don't have it in here because I also don't need it a lot of the time, but it's an option for 1 point. It's right there. Don't let your life get above your accuracy rating. All right. So we're going to keep going. We're not even going to take this life node or the mastery on the way past. Straight to an additional arrow. Additional arrows are actually mental. I mentioned how powerful they were earlier. Absolutely did that. For me, I like leveling bows. I like leveling with lightning arrow on. That means my first one is going to be chain. I know tailwind makes you run faster. I get it. It's my Merc lab. I want chain. So I'm going with chain. We're going to move up, grab the other arrow. At this point, you'll be running LMP and you'll have 5 arrows, or you'll decide you don't need LMP and you'll still have 3 arrows and you'll just have another damage link. Totally up to you. I personally just run with the LMP and 5 arrows. I never upgraded GMP because we've got so many arrows already. It's great. After that, we're going to jump up. We're going to grab an aura cluster so we can put a second aura on. For me, I think I ended up using clarity a whole bunch while leveling. Don't worry too much about what auras you're putting on. I like to run haste. Sometimes I like to run purity of elements. If I happen to have one of those minus mana rings, I might run both of them. Depends on how much mana I've got. It won't really be important. You can run wrath, you can run anger, haste, purity of elements. You can put heralds on. I promise you'll be too strong. Whatever socket you've got, put something in it. Absolutely fantastic leveling. Right. At 70 points here, you can see we've gotten the extra 2 projectiles. I have changed to here. I changed to here instead of there because I needed to do it at some point, and this is just the point at which I chose. You don't have to make that change there until whenever it is you get to it. This is also, we've created a little box here. So you don't have to rush to create this box, but we will be respecking some of these nodes at some point. So it does become a box at some point. Obviously, don't rush for it. We can just have that point out for now. Don't rush for it. We're going to be changing this stuff. We're going to come here, which is again still our box. We've got stuff filled out. This is where I suggest putting in a cluster jewel. Now, I've left my cluster jewel in here because it's the super cheap one. This one's super easy to roll. Cost me 40 chaos. Hopefully it doesn't cost very much. There's a better cluster that's slightly better, costs 4 or 5 divines. I think it has... Honestly, I can't remember what the better one is. It's only slightly better and it costs several divines instead of 50C. We can use this in the non-crit version, which is what we still are. Mediums are for crit later. And then boom, there's our first crit change. This is where that loop stops existing and why we needed to connect up the top here, because we've dropped this wheel and we've dropped precise technique and we are no longer crit and we've started picking up our crit wheels. This is also where I go into medium crit clusters because they're much cheaper. Now, I will point out, Lionized Jewel up here and these 2 wheels, by far the best. By far the best. However, when I geared this character, I had no money and I couldn't afford a Lionize. And on top of that, the Lionize is still, I believe, 8 divines at time of recording. And I mean, you can get almost this entire character, including the inspired learning, for about 10 to 12. So I don't want to include that in this starter guide, but if you can afford that, it is actually better than the cluster jewel. to have the lion eyes in and go this way and that way and take your critical strikes have cull. You'll actually end up doing more damage here than in the cluster jewel setup, but the cluster jewel setup for me at least was like 50C, 20C, 20C, and this was 8 divines, and so I didn't buy it. I'm doing quite well. I'm doing juiced tier 16s without it, but if you have extra money to throw around, do grab it, rip out all these points and put them into the lion eyes setup. Absolutely. All right. There's going to be more videos on this. This is updated to my current tree. There's going to be more videos on this. I'm going to min-max this a bit more. I very much enjoy playing it. But too many people were asking, how do I level it? How much do I need? Here's a video, all the information. Have fun. I will see everybody next time.